And hello, everybody. Here we are again. I love doing this. I hope you're enjoying the content of these little short videos and give me some suggestions of what else you would like to hear. I would love to hear and share and see how we do this together. Anyway, what I wanted to talk about today was how to cope when things come up in a very fearful way. How do you cope when you're suddenly saturated in fear? What do you do when you suddenly feel like you're overwhelmed and it's like scary or intensity, the intense fears there? And we've all had it, right? There's all been many moments when something shocks us or we feel like our breath's been taken away and we're absolutely scared or fearful of what's going on or what could be happening. And I think that's where I wanted to start. If you don't have tools to work with, there's like meditation tools or breathing tools. There's some very simple techniques that I can share with you in this video. But I also want to share with you why we have the fear. Now, I could be going out on a limb here and you might all think that I'm not telling the truth. But this is my experience. All my life, I was very much an emotional upsy-downsy person. And I would have big joy and then it would crash into big judgments, which would then create anxiety because then I'd be anxious about things or what people thought, situations. And anxiety can also lead into fear. I could have been very fearful about what was happening. I kind of had a natural inner balance in me, so I didn't live in a fearful state about stuff. I didn't worry a lot. I think fear can be gauged as worry because that could be like the lower extent of a fearful mannerism. And then, of course, there's the high amount of fear, like the high number we could put on it when we are very fearful, terrified, super scared of something, right? So there's this range that we could actually class as fear. And there's probably even more words we could add to that. Kind of interesting subject, really, when I think about it. But I didn't seem to live too much in it naturally because I tend to have a very positive outlook anyway, and kind of like a trust that things were okay or just happening. And why should I bother, or why should I get involved in my head about it? Now, these are key things that I'm starting to say to you because a lot of it is to do with thinking. When you see someone who's a worrier, like worrying a lot, or if you notice it in yourself, what actually is worrying? Why are we doing it? What is it giving us for us to keep doing it? What are we identifying with? Interesting questions. Because the more you start to question why you do these things or why it's habitual to you or for you, you have an opportunity to change, right? You're starting to shine the light on why we've got these ways that we think we're just taken by. Whereas perhaps they're not just taking us, we're actually choosing it, or it's habitual. It's been created over so many years that now it's just the normal. And it's absolutely not normal, especially if it's hurting us. Like worrying isn't nice unless we identify why we're doing it and maybe it is giving us something. If I worry about you and I tell you I'm worried sick about you, it's maybe me saying I love you, right? And so if I didn't worry about you and I wasn't talking in these words, maybe I'd have to love you in a different way, or maybe you think I don't love you so much because I'm not worried about you. Isn't it odd? But we hear these conversations all the time. Maybe we hear it from our parents, our mother. Maybe we hear it from our partner. Maybe we say it to our partner. I'm so worried about you. And what we're actually saying is, I don't trust you. Because if I did trust your judgment, I wouldn't be worrying about you. Or maybe I do trust you, but it's my wording that means I love you. And if I didn't worry about you, I wasn't thinking about you. And we could actually change that dynamic. Let me just talk about that quickly, because be careful what your words are. I mean, it might just sound like normal wording that we've been taught from our parents or our friends that it's normal to worry. But if we just changed it to simply, hey, I love you, dude, knock yourself out, have a great time, come back, let me know what you're doing. talk to me often, just say I stay connected to you and I know you're safe, that probably sounds better than, oh my God, I'm going to worry so much about you. Then they feel responsible or upset because, you're worrying. They're kind of that weird codependent energy that we put into stuff. So maybe we can just restructure our wording and just see what are we actually saying here? What are we actually really trying to give each other? And what are we really trying to actually, how are we actually loving each other? I want to trust you. I do trust you. Just stay connected to me and I'm good. Send me some text messages while you're out with your friends. Let me know that I'm in your thoughts rather than, oh my God, I'm so worried about you. I need you with me. Need. Codependency, sticky. Doesn't always work. Shows a lot about ourselves. Anyway, so why do we worry? What do we get out of it? And I think a lot of people get out of it, what do they receive? The idea that they're doing the right thing and that they're proving their love. So it's a kind of like an unhealthy way of loving someone, right? I hope all that made sense. But I see it in people and I hear the words and I see the sentences. And I'm like, really? Is that really what you mean? Is that really what's going on in you? Or is it just the habit of what you think you need to say to be a loving person? Interesting. And then we move into, things which are very fearful. Maybe we're fearful of our future. Maybe we feel that we could lose things. Maybe there's this idea of abandonment and loss. And these things are really interesting to explore. Like, do we have experiences of this? And that's why we're kind of perpetuating it or thinking about it, afraid it's going to happen again, afraid to be hurt again, abandoned again, betrayed again. So we have this fear of what's going on or fear of the future. And meditation can really help us with that, to see these patterns and thoughts, and also to understand this timeline that we buy into. And this timeline is the past and the future, which is where a lot of our thinking is. Actually, all our thinking is. But let's not go too deeply into that. And so when you start to meditate and become more present, you start to see that we have maybe had something that we've thought about, or something happened to us. We're projecting into the future, which hasn't happened yet. And then we'll keep concluding it because it has happened, so it's justifiable. And then we're projecting again that it could happen. So this thought's now justifiable because we're now to protect ourselves. And we bounce backwards and forwards and create stress and fear and ideas that we need to be prepared for or worried about or thinking about, or, oh, it's the world this day, we need to be more knowledgeable, we need to be updated on everything, because if we don't be updated on everything, we're unprepared. And especially the big movement at the moment that we need to be updated, because otherwise we're blinded, and all this background stuff's going on, and the media's telling us the lies, and there's all this other stuff. So we need to know. What does it give me if I need to know? Well, I guess it gives us some sort of satisfaction that we're not blind, but it does not give us peace, does it? Are you more peaceful with the more knowledge that you've been getting and investigating for and digging for? Does it give you peace and harmony and satisfaction, contentment? And if it gives you satisfaction, that's an interesting word. How long for? Satisfied about what? Is it peaceful? The majority of the people I've been talking to, it's not, or I see it's not. But it's a very good question for you. What is it giving you? And meditation really allows us to come back to this moment and to see the bounciness of the mind. Not that we become, numbed or ignorant to what could be happening that we need to know about, but so that we're not caught in it. And we see the patterns of the worry or the fear, and instead we can replace that with just simply being present, and then having the clarity to realize what we need and what we don't need in our life. And sometimes to play the news over and over again, all week, isn't what we need. Maybe to just be updated once a day or once a week or a couple of times is enough, right? Or ask somebody else who's happily spending all their time doing it. Then you're updated. Then what has it given you? Has it given you a level of satisfaction and ownership that you know what's going on in the world? And is that enough? we're all different. We all have different needs. But your peace, and this is where we're going to, hopefully you're watching this because you actually want to have a greater experience of peace or connection, or even learn a meditation or handle your fear. Then you have to see what's feeding it. There's the outward food for fear and the inward food for fear. Outward would be the company that you keep, the conversations that you're engaged in, the news media, any of it that is your choice to listen to or watch, the reading material that you're choosing to read. What on the outside of you is feeding your fear? And what can you do? What can you choose to do to lessen that? Watch a happy movie, even though it's just stupid and dumb and whatever. But if it creates some joy in you and some laughter and the sense of well-being in yourself in that moment, I think that's a great choice to break the habit of being fed fear. And then inwardly is your thoughts, your emotions. And if your thinking patterns are driving you nuts or very fearful, you need to look at that and change them, because thinking is a choice. And how do you do that? Well, I can give you some exercises here, but also meditation's a great tool. And it's not denial. It's recognizing the fearful patterns and then making a choice to break them or to move past a pattern, right? Or a habit or an addiction. An addiction is basically, I've been taken by this, I've got no way out, and realizing that you have. What do you need to break an addiction? You have to make a different choice. And then you have to follow through with that choice for the addiction to be broken, and the habit and the ideas and the beliefs. So it's all the same, really. It all comes back down to the same thing. Then there's emotions. There's emotions which are very fearful, or we're fearful of. Fear in itself, you could class that as an emotion. And then how do we change those emotions? Well, you basically see them for what they are. They are fed to us by our circumstances, and then we react, and then we have an emotion, we have energy. Okay, everything's basically energetically around us. We interpret it, we label it, we then assume it, right? We put stories around it. We make such a big deal about it that it becomes fascinating, real, and us. I am fearful. We own it. Well, if you learn to just observe it, it moves back into just energy. You can then allow it to pass through. You can actually just watch it, or it doesn't even exist if you don't put the label on it, right? Or you could try relabeling it for fun and just see if that works for you. But some of the simplest things to actually change fear is simply to learn to be present. Take a deep breath, allow yourself to be centered. The good old count to 10, allow yourself to settle, allow the mind to calm, change the focus of what you're thinking about to think happy thoughts or to see something of beauty around you. And what you've done is changed your attention for that moment. It doesn't create a stable experience of non-fear, but you're moving in a direction of breaking the habit. I think personally, meditation is the thing that will make this change more permanent for you, but you've got to start somewhere, right? I practice a meditation that has tools and techniques that allows us to change the thinking patterns and break the habits. They are based on praise, gratitude, and love, which are expanding and positive emotions. But the techniques themselves take us beyond the mind so that you're experiencing the source of where the thoughts come from, so you can rest more into that witnessing. And it's really beautiful because it becomes super clear that you're not a victim to it, and that you have the opportunity to change it. If you don't want to meditate, or you don't want to play with the meditation I do, which is actually in the link below, then you're kind of a little bit on your own, but you still can do things to persevere and breathe and become more present. And it doesn't have to be a meditation. Meditation is not a religion, by the way. So you don't get caught up into a belief system. You get offered tools or techniques that will help you become present. If you then move more onto the meditation group or traditions, then that's up to you. But the tools themselves or the techniques themselves are simply to help anyone recognize that you're not a victim to these emotions and to this fear, which I think is so important. It should be taught in school, you know. Personally, that's what I think. It's so important. Of our mental health is so important. So anyway, if you're watching this video, you just want to play with something simple, play with your breath, putting more attention on your breathing. Some breathing exercises even tell you to kind of hang out at the top of your breath and at the bottom of the breath, or on the inhale or the exhale, just sort of hang out there a little bit, you know, a couple of seconds. And that just really allows you to focus on your breath and then focus on that gap as the breath changes from inside to outside. And that gap then allows you to kind of calm. You start to focus on a calming, and you're taking your attention off the stuff, you know, the thinking and the emotions and stuff. And you're starting to change your attention that way. Very simple. And I think the more you just play with that, the more it will become obvious to you that you can do, you have an ability, and you're no longer caught and overwhelmed by these things. Play with it. Let me know how it goes. And let me know if you want more advice about this subject too, because I can talk in more depth about this and actually pass on more simple exercises for everybody to play with. I think that's it for today. I like to keep these short so it's not super informative, but that you get an invitation to play with something. So let me know how you do with it all. And I want these videos to keep coming out quite regularly. So I'm going to just keep going. Love you guys. And I'd love to hear from you.